Hello and welcome to the P-Pod. Welcome everyone. Teri Angel here with Dr. Ruth Anderson. Welcome to the P-Pod.
Thank you.
I should say welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome home.
Yes, exactly. That's what it feels like, is coming home. And we're always looking at discussing things that have to do with our inner peace, our joy in life, whatever we can talk about that uplifts us and helps us take that deeper dive into our spiritual self. So today is no different. We are going to be discussing abundance, which we started that discussion the last time you were on, and we're going to talk about it some more today. The first thing I want to do is share a little video clip of the reading I did from the book Midnight Calls and Dawn Arises. And I want to thank Sherry Myers of Sheridan Productions, who put this together for me. And it is about abundance. So we'll start with that and then see where the discussion ends up. If my mouse will cooperate. If everything will cooperate. Okay. Well, bear with me. It's supposed to play. There's the play button.
As you look around, search your heart to see how you feel about your abundance. Do you have shoes to put on your feet as you walk? There are some who do not. Do you have food in your refrigerator or on your shelves? Again, there are those who do not. Abundance, dear ones, comes down to perception. It requires you to examine how you think of your Creator. Do you see a loving, caring, benevolent being who meets your every need, or one who withholds the necessities of life and punishes those who do not understand their abundance? Do you believe you are worthy to have your needs met and blessed to have your heart's desire? If your idea of abundance is constantly having more and better, then you will never understand your blessings. Finding gratitude and contentment with what you do have opens the door so you can see clearly that you are not separate from your Creator. Thus, it is your birthright to have every need and wish fulfilled. Do you see, dear ones, that your abundance is on the inside? It has nothing to do with having worldly possessions, but everything to do with your knowingness of your worthiness. You believe that if you have things, you will be content. Thus you strive to have more, and then find you are still not content. Be filled with joy and happiness on the inside first, and then what comes to you will add to your happiness. That is the measure of true abundance. When you can see yourself as one with your Creator, you will then see yourself as truly abundant. This is Teri Angel, author of Midnight Calls and Dawn Arises. Visit angelspeakers.com to purchase your copy.
My mouse just totally does not want to cooperate today. Anyway, that was from page 10 of Midnight Calls and Dawn Arises. And these are channeled messages from the angels from all of last year, put together in one book. So you can just open it to whatever page and see what touches you, or go to a topic that intrigues you, like abundance or grief or whatever you're called to read at that moment, and see what the angels have to say. So again, my thanks to Sherry Myers for taking time to work with me to put some of these to words, and I will be eventually putting the whole book to words. So another message is that, speaking about abundance, in August of this year, Michelle Landers and I will be holding a workshop on Think and Grow Rich, talking more about abundance and how to delve into it even deeper. So shout out to Michelle Landers, and we've worked together many times in the past. So I'll try to get her on here pretty soon as a guest so we can talk about what we'll be doing in August. So Ruth, you've been working with the energy of abundance lately, and it's come up for you, I think, pretty much every day, hasn't it?
It just keeps coming up in different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And, both of us work with people and helping them to see themselves as the very best they can see themselves. And like this message that I played from the angels, it's like if we see the Creator as benevolent, we're going to feel that we are worthy of that benevolence. So I think that has to be a big part of our abundance, is mindset.
Right. What that was saying to me was that abundance is an inside job. It doesn't matter how many gadgets you have,
Mm-hmm.
how many homes, how many cars, how much jewelry. If you don't feel that abundance internally, you're just going to keep feeling in lack.
Yeah. And the problem that I see a lot of times is somebody will say, I want, or I need this. I really need this job, which maybe you do, but coming from that energy is coming from the lack. It's saying to the universe, to God, to other people, I don't have, I'm missing something. And I think that's a big, big part of feeling our worthiness, is not feeling that we're missing something, to know that we have everything that we possibly need given to us.
It was interesting. Teri and I had been spending time up in the mountains with another friend, and the angels were pretty clear that there was an activity they wanted us to work on, which was working on the journal for midnight calls and dawn arises. And we were sitting at dinner, and I heard the angels say to use part of the transformation game. And if you've never played the transformation game, it's a great experience. One of the things it does have is little cards with angels, many, many, many different angels.
Right.
And they told us to use that pack. And Teri was supposed to choose 5 angels, and I was supposed to choose 5 angels. And that would help us in our work on creating this journal. And so we went back to the hotel rooms and got settled in, and we pulled out the angel cards, and we set the intention that whichever angel cards we chose would be beneficial. And do you have them? Do you have them in your head?
No, but I can find them.
I think I've got a picture of it. It was fascinating because we really had no idea where it was going, how it was going to work. And let me see if I can find it.
Here it is.
Okay, so the angels that we chose were, where are they?
Here.
No, it was the guiding principles. Right?
Yeah, these are the principles. These are the angels that are working with us.
Well, that's the divinity that's working with us. But the cards that we chose, the angel cards that we chose, were balance, trust, forgiveness, grace, authenticity, openness, risk, obedience, and peace. And I think that's all of them.
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. And then Teri had gone through Midnight Calls and Dawn Arises, and she had worked with AI to figure out what topics were coming up a lot. And there were 10 of them. Well, one of them was abundance. And so looking at abundance with these 10 angels that had been chosen for us, and looking at what archangels or spiritual divinity would help support in creating the journal for the term abundance, really opened up a huge, huge conversation. And one of the pieces that we talked about was, what does abundance even mean? And, you know, we keep wanting, but when is enough? And to look at the many ways in which you are abundant, as Teri said in her reading, if you've got food in your refrigerator, do you really need a full pantry like my mother always used to have? She was a Depression era baby, and we had a full pantry, including canned chickens and, I mean, stuff that we would never,
Right.
I would never
Yeah.
buy. Completely full pantry.
Yeah.
And was that really necessary? It was just sort of an interesting aha about abundance. How much do you really need?
How much do you really need? And, you know, look in the refrigerator. A lot of times there's so much waste because we think, oh, I want all of that, or I need all of that. And then it doesn't get touched. Sometimes I'm guilty. Sometimes I've thrown things out that I didn't even touch.
Right.
They went past their expiration date, or they went bad. You know, so it's like, yeah, we have sometimes this mentality. I have sometimes this mentality of, you know, I've got to have that in the refrigerator bag of groceries because I might need it, instead of what do I really need? So I think that's important to look at and say, there's so many things that I can do without. You know, I can do without that bag of potato chips. You know, I can do without, you know, 10 cans of one type of food. So, yeah, I think it's just an important message to all of us to look at the waste that's happening. And then there's the real lack of people who don't have food at all. There are a lot of people, even in our own country here in the States, that are starving and wishing that they had half of what was in our refrigerator or in our pantry. So where is that balance? And I know there's a mentality that if I have something, you're not going to have it.
There's not enough.
There's not enough for all of us. And there is. Our earth is so abundant. We're able to grow food, just put a seed in the ground and grow food. That's abundance. We're able to have the trees that bear fruit or nuts or whatever it is, and just go have that, go pick it. It's there. So I don't know, how do we come to terms with not, I hate the word hoarding, but that's really what happens.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's like, give me more, give me more. How do we turn away from that mindset and find a balance in our lives? Because to me, that hoarding mentality is an imbalance that we have. Don't you think?
I do. And just a funny little aside, I don't know why it's coming to my mind, but this was in 1969, and we had a full-blown pantry with all of these things. Well, then we had a flood, and our basement flooded, and it was disgusting because it was actually 3 feet of raw sewage.
Ooh.
It was nasty. And all of those cans became labelless and floating. And my parents, God bless them, so frugal.
Mhm.
We opened all of those cans and we ate all that, but we didn't know what any of them were.
Right.
So I was like, okay,
That could be fun.
go pick 3 cans. Well, we knew which one was the chicken because it was the tall one. So I think that was probably the last one to go. But it was
Yeah.
just like, wow, I mean, I give my parents credit. At least,
Yeah.
we ate it and they didn't throw everything out, but maybe they should have. Yeah.
Just clean it good before you open it.
Yeah. But then we also started talking about manifesting. And so often when folks talk about, ooh, I'm going to manifest a new car, ooh, I'm going to manifest, whatever. But how often that seems to be physical things.
Yeah. And manifesting a new car, what's wrong with the old car? I mean, if there is something and, it really does need to be replaced, then I see that. But so many people have to have the newest and best and latest and greatest. I've never been one of those. I was very happy with my old car that I drove around in for so many years until the angel said, "You're going on the road." And I knew that it wouldn't make the trip. So that was a necessity. But I know a lot of people that have to, like every year, turn in their leased car or, upgrade to the next car. And just an interesting process as we look at abundance and lack of abundance, or the feeling that we're lacking something. And what is that inside of us that just cries out for more? And I think for me, when I had that desire, I wanted something, it was a lot of times it was an insecurity. It was an insecurity that I was going to be without, that I wouldn't have enough, because I grew up in poverty. I grew up in a family of 13 kids, and my parents went through the Depression, just like yours. And so there was always that attitude of watching everything that you spent, every penny that you spent, and reusing. We were the first recyclers, I think. We recycled clothes like crazy.
You recycled kids.
We recycled kids. That's right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the insecurities, and look
Well,
at
fear.
that.
Don't you think fear?
Yeah.
We've spent time in one of our friends' homes, and it is. Would you say hoarding? Would you go there?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not walking around knee-deep piles of stuff,
Right.
but there's certainly more than any one person could use in a lifetime.
Yeah, most definitely. There's things there that I know will never, ever get opened.
Yeah.
There's just too much. You couldn't use all of that in one lifetime. You can donate it to, a clinic or something. Just look at what we're taking in and why. Why are we going and buying the things that we buy? What is the reasoning? What's that need to have? And maybe you need one, so take one, not 100. And just really look at how the waste is happening in our world today. And we talk about, the cost of things, but what are we doing if we're hoarding and we have all of that's sitting there, that's money that could be used for other things, or to donate to those who don't have. So I'll get off that soapbox. I'm talking about abundance for anyone just coming in and finding us. And if anybody has questions or comments, we gladly welcome them. It's just an eye-opening time to say, what do I think about abundance? How do I feel about it? What's my concept and my belief? And where does that belief come from? all of our beliefs come from somewhere.
Right.
I don't think we're born with a belief that we're not worthy or that we don't deserve to have or we don't have enough. I think we come in knowing that we are worthy. And then the world teaches us, okay, here's your lesson. One of the lessons is how we get nourishment, how we get love, how we get the things we get in life.
We also spent time talking about those things that we have in overabundance. Do you remember when we went down that lane?
Yep. And, abundance, it's not just about money. It's not just about things even. It can be an abundance of friends. If you're somebody that you just have to be surrounded by people all the time, there is nothing wrong with that. And absolutely, we're not judging anyone with any of these comments or this discussion that we're having. We're just asking you to take a look at your own life and the patterns and the habits that we get into. And so if you're finding yourself feeling a lack, I don't have anybody, I need to have a friend, I need to have this or that. What is that insecurity that's keeping you from reaching out, from saying, hey, I'm going to expand my circle? And I encourage everyone to know who you can turn to, know who that is. And have an abundance, have more than one person, that you can reach out to if you're having a bad day or if something goes wrong and you're just asking somebody to hold your hand. So abundance is more than just things. So we want you to look at that as well. And hello to Robin. I see you there. Thank you for coming in. Robin's a blessing in my life. She is one of our P's that are so beautiful and share so much love with each other. So I can say I have an abundance of peace.
You do. You have an abundance of people that love you, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's a good feeling. But what is your comfort zone? You may only have one or two people that you hold close to your vest. So you have to be comfortable with how you're living your life. And don't compare. There is no comparison. So one person might have a group of people that they can call on any of them, and another one may have just one person or two people. So abundance then is how you define it.
It's a state of mind, really.
Yeah. And when we're talking about manifesting, whether it's, like I said, things, material things, or people, friends, love, it's important to remember that you are worthy of having whatever it is you want to manifest. So one of the keys that I have learned in manifesting is not to come from that lack mentality. Not to say I don't have, so I need to have this. I need to grab it. And it's not going to happen that way. You could get it, but to get it easier with ease and grace and faster, you don't come from the lack. You come from the knowing that you are worthy. And how do we get that sense of worthiness?
So you lead manifesting classes and manifesting experiences.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you did that?
That I led one? We did it in January, I believe. Michelle Landers and I do a vision board on manifesting every year. And I believe we did it was either January or early February that we did that workshop. And then we're going to work together in August of this year on mindset, which is Think and Grow Rich. And again, rich is,
I would say define rich.
yeah, it's each person's definition of what that looks like. And what did Robin say? Approaching my downsizing journey, working on the
It says avenue.
avenue a little at a time so it isn't so overwhelming. That's a great way to look at it, Robin. Because if we think, oh, I just have to throw everything out and start over, then that can be overwhelming. A lot of people have a problem letting go of something because it has an emotional attachment to it. And I talked about that just the other morning, I think on the morning show, that I have to downsize. I have to keep things at a minimum. And actually, I have too much right now for my little vehicle. And some of the things can be photographed. Like if it's a card that had a sentimental reason that I kept it, I can photograph that and still have that memory of it to look at any time. So I don't have to have the physical. But yeah, it's a process to downsize and to look at, do I have an overabundance of something in my life?
Well, and I think as we get older too, you can see where in stages you're going to have to be getting rid of things,
Right.
rather than just continuing to bring it into the home. So that's a whole different thing too, depending on what life stage you're at.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got little kids in the house or,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. And can we talk about when you're approaching the end of life and what happens there? There's a process that many, many people go through if they know that their death is imminent. Some people don't get that opportunity, but if you're facing that and it's coming up, what's that process of letting go? What does that look like?
Well, I'm watching a loved one do that now. She's handing out all of her things. She wants to make sure that they're going to someone who cares about them and not just going to be in some big trash heap when it's really her time to go. So, yeah, watching her do that now.
Yes. And I think that doesn't have to be a sad thing. I think it can be a blessing to know I'm giving my sister something that had such meaning to me and share with her, this is something that was special and why it was special, and have a peace about knowing that that's going to continue on as your legacy of someone looking at that. But, if you have just a house full of things that you've accumulated, that's a process you have to go through to say, okay, what if this really doesn't have any meaning and I can just turn it over wherever it needs to go to somebody that can use it.
I think that's a big piece of it too, is gifting it to someone who can use it, whether it's ARC or Goodwill or the veterans, but not just dumping it in the trash because you're done with it.
Yeah, exactly. And, we had talked before, Ruth, I don't know if we did it on this Peapod or not, about all the clothing that gets discarded.
We did that.
Yeah, just buying and wearing it one time and then it's thrown away. Yeah, there's a big tendency to that right now. And it's just ending up on the side of a river or in the trash heaps.
On the beach somewhere.
On the beach. Lots of clothes are left on the beach. It's amazing to me. I didn't grow up, but I've lived in Florida most of my life. And just walking the beach, it's just amazing to see the garbage that's there and things that people have discarded. Yeah, I have a dear friend that collects things on the beach and turns them into works of art. So, that's another way of being creative and also being helpful to the environment. Let's see what Robin's doing. With 2 locations, 3 lives, one before we met and one down there, one at Mom's. Clothes are what I am referring to. Many, many, many. Yeah.
A lifetime supply, huh?
For maybe more than 1 or 2 people. Yeah, absolutely. And, I used to do this thing called closet shopping. So I would go in my closet and say, oh, what can I find? Because there would be things I hadn't touched in years. Hadn't worn them, hadn't brought them out. So this was when I had a house and, a closet full of stuff. And it's fun sometimes to go closet shopping. But it's also important to realize that maybe somebody else could be wearing those. Maybe somebody that's less fortunate. And I really, when I would purge from the closet, I would usually give it to like a shelter, a women's shelter or homeless shelter, and just share that overabundance with others. You're taking it to a consignment store. Yeah. And then to a thrift store. That's awesome. I know when I visited up in Vermont, there's a huge thrift store there, and she gives so much to the community, to people that are without, and the shelters. So there's a lot of thrift stores you can find that do that, and that donate from their proceeds as well to people to help and to animals.
I think one of the places to be careful, like walking through Costco or walking through Target, because it's such a trap. You can always find something, right? Oh, I really need 24 jars of tomato sauce.
It's just right?
Like, no, you don't. You really don't. Yeah.
Have you ever walked through one of those stores or any store and you're putting stuff in your basket almost like unconsciously?
Oh, sure.
It's like, oh, that looks good, or that looks fun, or I could use that. And then before you get to the register, you're like, what am I doing? I've actually done that. I've actually gone, do I really need all of this stuff that's in my basket? And so it's like, let's do the reverse. Put it back on the shelf. Yeah, but it's fun to just go in and shop. But realize your limit. Are you being overly abundant with that? Are you thinking that you have to have all of that? So I think, again, it's a mindset.
Well, and how much of that is just an emotional need, too?
Mhm.
Because I remember when one of my daughters was little, if she didn't get out of the house, she was just like antsy and raring to go. And so I would take her to Target.
Mhm.
And so we're just wasting time. But she had that emotional need to get out. I just chose to make it be at Target. But I know for me, if I'm having a sort of a slum, just kind of down in the dumps day, easiest place to pick yourself up is at a thrift store or at Target for me, right? Which is not good, because then you're using that to emotionally, salve, give us emotional salve of spending money. And I don't know that it's actually the spending of the money or just seeing the pretty things and thinking, oh, I could have that. Or
There's a term for it. They call it retail therapy.
They do call it that.
Yeah. And I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done retail therapy, especially if I had anger. I've noticed, and I don't know why, that would be associated with it. Mine was anger.
Mine was sadness for some reason.
I'm just going to go and I'm going to buy something new for myself. And just getting something new, something different. It seems like it had some kind of way of alleviating what was going on emotionally.
I'm sure that they spend a lot of money trying to figure all of those things out, how to best rope people in and meet their emotional needs. Yeah. I mean, don't you think about Costco and who their buyer is?
Mhm. Yeah, think about that,
Yeah.
because theirs is always big, right?
A
At
lot of
Costco, it's bulk. So people, and so many people shop Costco. I've been amazed every time I've been in one. I don't have a Costco membership, but I have been in them. And just looking at the not millions in one store, but looking at all of the abundance of people that are there and their baskets just being filled to the brim in bulk.
Right.
So interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a psychological phenomena. They've definitely keyed in on that. Robin said she's put stuff in the cart, then makes another loop to put it back.
Mhm. That's what I've done.
Yeah.
It's like a wake up before you get to the register. And, I work on a very limited budget. So sometimes I'll look at my basket and I'm going, oh, this isn't going to work. Let's see what I picked up that I really don't need. And yeah, so it's an awareness too of what am I doing? And we can reach that state before we get to the cash register. So yeah, Robin, I'm glad we've had similar experiences with that. Yeah, what am I doing? What am I thinking? That's one of Karen Palmer's acronyms, to just stop yourself and what am I thinking? And look at, is this something that is necessary or that I just don't feel like I can live without? And I want to keep that. So yeah, it's all a process. It's all just perspective, I think.
Well, what I've learned is that by having stuff spread out through the house, I don't know how much I have. So we just moved into a new home. And so when I compiled all of the boxes of Kleenex and all of the paper towels and all of the toilet paper, I was shocked. But since it was spread out throughout the house, I didn't know how much I had. So now I have it basically all in one place for the storage. I don't need to go shopping for that for some time. But
you can take it off your list.
I can. Or just like, Windex or, some of those things.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to try to keep it clumped together so you can actually see how much you have.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of making a shopping list too.
True.
And especially if you have an ongoing one, like when you run out of something, put it on the shopping list instead of just, I don't know if I have any more toilet paper at home. So you grab a bag of it. Yeah. Good point, Ruth.
And Robin is saying that some stores have been known to play subliminal music to encourage buying.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we won't even go down that rabbit hole of what the advertisements do on TVs. We've known for years that they place those subliminal messages in there to go buy, to go have. You have to have this. You really want this. And it's a real thing. It really does happen.
Well, in the grocery stores, I was reading about this the other day, and we all know the important stuff is on the outsides, right?
Yeah.
The dairy, the vegetables, the meat on the outsides, and everything in between is, you don't really need most of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I was reading was that they will change up where the stuff is in the middle. So you have to walk the aisles to find the things
Find what you want.
buy.
Yeah.
They're very smart.
Yes, they have put a lot of thought into it and a lot of research.
Right.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that we're such creatures of habit that they can figure that out? And there we go, down the rabbit hole. Yeah. You have your card out. Did you want to share something from the Oracle deck?
This was it's the Mother Mary Oracle guidebook by Elena Fairchild, and I love her stuff.
Me too.
And I don't know how much we can do without copyright issues here. But this particular one that I had pulled was Our Lady of the Abundant Garden. And one of the things that she talks about is that it's habit that keeps us in lack. or uncertain. And she's saying if you really take stock of what you have, rather than thinking, oh, I'm at Target, I need to buy toilet paper because I always buy toilet paper when I'm at Target. When we step out of the habit and really assess what we have, not just things, but also emotional,
Right.
spiritual gifts, all of that stuff, then we can really understand our abundance. So that's what I was wanting to share with that. It's our habits that keep us in lack.
It's the habits, and how do those habits even get formed? They don't happen overnight. We don't just wake up, oh, I've got to have. We are conditioned sometimes with things, and our environment and peer pressure, right? We see somebody else with something. Oh, I want that too. So we develop the habit of people pleasing or trying to fit in with others. And just over time, it just becomes a habit to do that. But any habit can be broken. Again, going back to mindset, going back to a desire to make a change. And I know a lot of people who are stuck in their hoarding that are really clueless. I believe they're really clueless as to that. And it is a disease. It has been designated now as a disease. They just don't see that it is harmful. I have all this stuff, but it's like they're not seeing what they can't let go of, that inability to release and let go. So it's a desire to change, to make a change, and to say, I don't really need any more than what's comfortable for me. So, I mean, if you have a need that's going, something that you need comfort with, that's not an overabundance. That's not a just having to have. But if you buy 20 blankets instead of one to stay warm, that might be an overabundance or a hoarding issue. Yeah, so perspective and just self-awareness. As with any type of growth, the self-awareness has to be there.
Well, and I think an easy way to get to that is ask yourself what triggers you, because the triggers will show you every time what you're holding on to and why you're holding on to it. And I love musical theater. I love Fiddler on the Roof. But there's that one scene when they're leaving Anatevka, and I'm getting goosebumps. Everybody's got one suitcase. As a family, you might have a cart that your donkey's pulling, but you got one suitcase. And I have often thought, what would I put in my one suitcase? And why do I have all of this other stuff when really one suitcase?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey. When I started out, I had so much to get rid of, and I really didn't have all that much because I had already downsized a few times. But when I knew that I was going to be leaving and it was just me in a vehicle, I'm like, oh, okay. And a few days before I was even heading out of the apartment, I'm like, angels, help, because how do I decide what goes and what I can take with me? So they had to really help me make that choice of what went in my suitcase, what was going to be packed in the car. And there were things that I honestly did not want to let go of. They had emotional value. And so I started farming out some things like pieces of art or my angel collection, things that had been gifted to me. And so those things they were put in safe hands, and it was like, okay, I don't know when I'll be back to get them, but they're with you right now, and I'm sure they'll be in good hands. So it is a matter of discerning, just looking at what do I need to take along with me. What's in your one suitcase? That's a really good question, a good reflective question that you can ask yourself. If it had to come down to that, what would that be? Maybe it's a picture of the family for sure, or just things that you don't want to relinquish and you want to be able to look at again.
Well, the real test is when you're preparing somebody to help them move to like a memory care or a nursing home, and you're going, oh, golly.
You've had to do that.
Several times.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And then all those things mean nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can hope that there will be a memory when they look at them.
Right.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that needs to be a whole show by itself on dementia and the emotional effect of the loved ones, watching somebody go through that. Yeah. But we have come to the end of our show, and what an amazing discussion. We went to some rabbit holes, and we went to some different branches, but I think if I had to put it into a concise statement, it's do the self-inventory, do the awareness, and see if there's a place where you might can let go. Letting go. Sometimes it's hard, but then see what is it that I need and why? Why do I need to have that? Or why do I want to have that? And what's happening in your world? And are you being in an insecure state when you're asking for something? If you're asking for it and there's a purpose to the asking, then look at that as opposed to, am I just asking because I just want to amass all this stuff? And all that stuff is not going to make you happy. So the happiness has to come first, and then asking for the abundance. That's the process. So we'll be talking more about abundance. And as I said, I'll try to grab Michelle Landers to come on with us. And maybe Ruth, you can join in with that discussion again. And let's talk more about abundance and awareness, self-awareness. And I encourage you all to get the book if you haven't yet. It's in print form, which is a pretty thick book. And it's also on Kindle. So there's lots and lots of goodies in there and lots of information on abundance. And Ruth had mentioned earlier, we're working on a workbook to go along with this. And abundance is one of those topics that you'll be able to spend some time doing more self-reflection and a deeper dive into. So thank you to all who will consider doing that. And I just want to share with everyone, Dr. Ruth Anderson and Enlightened World Network, and would you share how they can get in touch with you?
So you can always go to Messenger on Facebook, Dr. Ruth Anderson, or you can go to www.enlightenedworld.online, and that's EWN's website. So you can reach out there as well.
And I encourage you to do so. Ruth is an amazing, amazing healer and confidant, and will always be there to lift you up, as does EWN every day. There's meditations, there's informative programs and inspirational programs. And we do stream on Enlightened World Network when we do the podcast. So perhaps that's where you're watching right now. And if so, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll see you again next week, I think. There's 1 week this month that I'm going to be on someone's podcast, and it's at the same time that the P-Pod would be. But I'll let you know ahead of time if there's not going to be one. thank you for being here. So many blessings to all of you. Ruth, any last words about abundance or anything that you want to share?
Just how blessed we are. One of the things that this book does share with us is that when we love Divine Mother, she will help make sure that we are truly abundant in every area. So just beautiful words.
Yeah, and that brings up the important point too of, find that guidance. Find a guide that you can ask questions, whether it's an oracle deck or a teacher, a mentor, and ask questions. That's what the oracles are all about. You ask a question and you get an answer. So thank you everyone for being here. So much love to you. I appreciate you so much for your support, and I'll see you next time. I love you, and namaste, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. I think.